Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is July 5th, 2018, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, starting out at 12 p.m. South African time out of United Kingdom, Bank of England Governor Carney will be speaking. That's followed up with a 215 number coming out of the United States. ADP Non-Farm Employment Change. It's a preliminary number to tomorrow's non-farm payroll, which is a major event of the month. So just be aware of it that it's coming out tomorrow. And then that's followed up at 4 p.m. ISM non-manufacturing PMI number coming out of the United States. At 5 p.m. we have weekly oil inventories coming up. And lastly at 8 p.m. FOMC Meeting Minutes. And that's a follow-up. Okay, a news conference as follow-up to the FOMC rate decision. So a few important events coming out later today. They kind of all smashed in after yesterday's national holiday in the United States. Markets were relatively quiet yesterday, okay, in somewhat of an observance to the United States, taking a day off. So just be aware of it. We will have some late openings today with some of the American stocks and the indices, so just be aware of it. Now let's take a look at the markets and see what's been happening. So following up what we mentioned earlier in the week is that we're looking for some sort of direction versus the USD, okay? We were looking at the Euro USD, the GBP USD, and the Aussie USD, and we're looking for some sort of catalyst to take us somewhere, okay? Either on the upside or the downside, and I think maybe this morning we'll actually get that. We have this spike right now from the Euro USD, and as you can see, it's relatively breaking above this resistance line of 116.91, but it's got to really, tug along continuously on the upside for it to be a bona fide, rally. Okay, now if you look, we've made a trend line right here, okay, all together looking like it's firming up, okay, but I don't want to celebrate anytime soon. I'd rather wait for a pullback, but I'd like to see some sort of, consistency in the breakout for us to really say, okay, this may go back to the 118-ish level. Okay, I do think that, the Euro USD is still struggling to find a relative new range in terms of our massive correction that we have from 125 down to 115-ish level. Okay, so I think somewhere in between that we're going to look for some sort of indication. I don't think we're going to go back to the 120-ish level right away, but I think that there's going to be a correctional move and it could extend further up. Okay, so just be aware of that later today as this continues to trade. Now, I'd like to see some sort of continuum in some of the other, USD related Forex symbols. Okay, so we're looking here at the GBP USD, and relatively it's a weaker, it's a weaker pair, okay, versus the dollar, and we're just like the Euro USD, we're really flirting above this resistance level. So I'd like to see that really, push on further for us to say, okay, this may continue going up, but it looks like, as you can see, setting up a new trend line, okay, but I'd like to see that follow through come through. If we skip to the Aussie USD, not happening. Okay, this is what's disconcerting about this. So this may play catch up to the Euro USD and the GBP USD. So look for that variance later today. If we look at the USD Swiss franc, okay, a little bit of a correctional move here, but again, it's really trading in a very, very tight range. That's why we haven't covered it over the past couple of days. If you look here at the RSI, we really haven't been in the extremities above 70 or below 30 for quite some time. Okay, so that's something to consider when you're trading these type of ranges, that it's got to really be worth it for the range to be large enough for it to be worth it for you to trade. Okay, looking at the Rand, as we look like as well, we kind of, just settled here at 1370, didn't break this 1363 earlier in the week, so that's really important to really note. However, if we don't rally above this, this could be a minor resistance level at this 1370, may just have a really tight trading range. So be aware of that as that continues to trade later today. USD Japanese yen, really quiet, okay? Didn't really, break above this 111, held that line. We said it had like this triple top, but it hasn't really faltered either. Okay, so it's really, liking this 110 level, at least for now, but I'd keep it on my radar to see if there's some sort of breakout. Now, jumping into gold. Now, this really had a continued correctional move yesterday all the way to 1260, as we mentioned, and they're really faltering here. Okay, selling off. So this may really, really be a dead cat bounce, which means that this spike was just a short squeeze, letting all those, people who were short kind of booking their profits at 1240, and, all of a sudden just rallying the gold fictitiously, okay, up to 1260. So this may continue to sell off, okay, so I'd like to see that later today. Keep a couple of feelers out there to see how that continues to trade later today. Looking at oil, okay, we had a sell-off yesterday from 75-ish, 74.65-ish. We capitulated up here, and then a massive sell-off, and then correctional move 73.55. So we're right there at the moving average, okay, but we do have a target price between $80 to $70. I think we'll continue being in that, but altogether, you know, it really has to hold this line, okay, for it to go back to $75 later today. So we may see a further correctional move, maybe down to the 71-ish dollar. Okay, I could see that still happening. All right, that's really the short-term target. Maybe later today we'll see that if we get that impetus, we get that sell-off with the number coming out. Now, jumping into the JSC yesterday, continued to rally up, didn't really sell off. Okay, we may have anticipated yesterday that it, you know, kept on faltering here, but it looks like we want to take this up higher. Okay, we had gap out, gap down, and then held this level down here, and then, you know, really making just this, you know, smaller, you know, incline towards its resistance level of 51.68. So I'd really look for some sort of a catalyst to push this up further. If we don't, then I'm afraid to say we may continue just trading between this 68-ish level and 51.500-ish level for some time, okay? But we do really need some sort of breakout, you know, for us to give us that push above and that continuum. Looking at the Dow Jones. Now, yesterday we mentioned that it was closed. The markets were closed late yesterday. We're hitting this resistance level right here, support level, excuse me, right here at 24,176-ish level. So, you know, I would anticipate some sort of bounce today, but if we don't get that bounce, guess what? We can go further downwards, okay? We've sold off quite sharply from 25,300-ish level. Okay, so we are at the bottom of the range here. So I'd like to see, like I said again, some sort of impetus for us to go up above as some of the big stock market stocks, like, you know, the conglomerates and like the old time stocks like McDonald's, Johnson & Johnson, you know, they're faltering. They're not really breaking out higher. Okay, however, that discrepancy is happening because the high-tech companies, okay, like the NASDAQ, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Apples, the Oracles, they're all breaking out higher, okay? So there's a little bit of a discrepancy in the markets as to what's really driving the market up higher. The Russell 2000 also driving it up higher. So, you know, ultimately there has been a correctional move on the Dow Jones. Okay, I don't think we're going back to 26,000 anytime soon. But I think that, you know, we'll be trading in this new range on the Dow Jones. We're looking here at the NASDAQ, and we sold off quite sharply off of our highs from 7,343, as you can see. So I'd like to see whether or not this actually follows like the Dow Jones back in February when we sold off sharply, okay, and took a really correctional move. Okay, now this really represents that in this previous trade right here. So you could say that the NASDAQ stocks are much stronger than the big board stocks, than the New York Stock Exchange stocks, the Dow stocks. So, and you can see that right here, because where, you know, this market sold off back in February, but yet made new highs for the year just 2 weeks ago, okay, the Dow Jones did not. Okay, so I'm more inclined to think that, you know, those traditional big board stocks, like I mentioned before, are not breaking out higher. Okay, so that's a little bit disconcerting, as maybe the market is taking a correctional move. So we got to keep that in mind as we compare the Dow Jones versus the NASDAQ. Looking at the DAX yesterday, really, you know, just flatlining, okay, in observance, kind of an observance of the national holiday in the United States. So let's see if we, you know, do see some sort of breakout, either on the upside or the downside. It's fine, okay, but as you can see, we're really flatlining here, so no real, you know, impetus to jump into it in one direction or another. This is Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.